Hello there, and we are live. See, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I got myself legends down here. Yeah, the other legend is coming down soon. Kenny Ken should be coming down soon. But you know what? Yeah, without much ado, I have someone who is very, very important to me down here. The first person down here is Jez. Jez, you're welcome to the show, my brother.
Cheers, man. Yeah, always good to come on. Thanks for asking me on, man.
Yeah, good, good, good. And the other person who's here with me is no one else than the Oregon Gooner himself. Oregon Gooner, you're welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks again for having me on.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
great. We're waiting on Kenny Ken. He should be coming in quite soon. But before that, see, let's get straight into this issue. Yeah, Jez, something happened this past weekend, and it really hit me because this should have been an opportunity that Arsenal should have used to actually leapfrog Man City and all of our other rivals, including Manchester United, who is even getting in on the act and getting few points from here and there, and they're looking solid in a way. It's the match against Everton. What can you tell us about that match against Everton? Just give us your preamble about that matchup.
Yeah, okay, man. Look, it's to me quite simple. Sean Dyche is a fella that actually can outfox many teams. His way of bullying a team is practically very similar to the old Sir Alex Ferguson days. Basically, their midfield and their defence is physically bigger and stronger than Arsenal. And the fact that Sean Dyche likes to set his team up to bully the team in a fashion. And it was quite evident that our midfield couldn't handle it. Now, Thomas Partey, I don't know why he was on the pitch.
Jez, I think you have audio down there coming up.
Not me. I've got no other audio on.
Okay.
I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything but Jez. I don't have anything on.
Okay. All right. It's gone now. Yeah. Yeah, it's gone now. Jez, you can continue. Yeah.
Where was I? Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can continue. It's okay. Yeah.
Thomas Partey shouldn't have been on the pitch. He wasn't fit. Quite simply, he was really not in that game. Odegaard was poor. Xhaka, probably the worst displays I've seen of him all season. And the fact that we had Martinelli exposed out on that wing, no overlap from Zinchenko. I do not like this movement of having a left back that goes into the midfield, and we have this swamped position. If you look at the stats and the where these players were, we were so exposed, and we've got Martinelli out there on his own. No service.
Yeah.
If he did get the ball, straight away he's got two big defenders on him, and the same with Saka. He had two big defenders on him, and when we get the ball and made a penetration attack, Everton had 11 men behind the ball. And what we can't seem to achieve with this current setup, we can't. Look, in fairness, no team can break down 11 players behind that ball. And this is Sean Dyche, who Dyched again Arteta, because he did it, he embarrassed us at the Emirates, 2 seasons ago. Yet we never learn. And the problem, I think, is, Tony, is that Arteta has game plan A and sticks to game plan A. There's no plan B, there's no plan C. Now, can I just make a point here? If that had been me, seeing how it was going, I would have taken off Partey, got Zinchenko into midfield, put on Tierney, who we know will overlap Martinelli, and that will then maybe mix it up a bit, because basically what we were seeing was Arsenal getting overrun time on, time on, time on. It was a very shit show from Arsenal. We were lucky to get 1-0, but can I also say, when you are 1-0 down in 80 minutes and you change a left back for a left back when you're looking for a goal. Now, we've seen this happen before. So is this the only capable tactic that Arteta has in his folder? Well, if that's the case, then that is a real poor show. It was a great shame after what happened with Tottenham Man City. We could have gone 8 points clear. Nobody was going to predict what happened with Tottenham, but it is what it is. But Arteta needs to step up and get a second game plan.
Very, very interesting. See, Jez, I agree with every word that's come out from your mouth. It's true. It's the truth. No lies, nothing, no agenda. That is the plain truth. We were playing plainly very bad. It was a shambolic showing last weekend. I really hope something changes. See, the round table is complete already. Kenny Ken, you're welcome to the show. See, Kenny Ken, I'll go to you before I go to Oregongooner to give us what he thought about that matchup. Yeah. See, you've just heard what Jez have said here right now. What's your take on that match last weekend? Was there anything mikelarteta could do to salvage at least even a point against Everton last weekend? What did he do wrong? What was wrong last weekend?
Well, Everton were the better side in every department. They deserved that win. You know, they could have won by about 3 or 4. None of the Arsenal fan had any complaints. They had the clearer cut chances. They ran more distances than us. They put more tackles in. They were better than us in all departments. Mick Arteta, what he could have done, in the second half is again, he could have tried to stretch the game more. So by stretching the game, maybe in terms of bringing bringing any players on. Ben, I think the problem Mick Arteta had and the problem we had is that Partey just wasn't 100% fit, and we were carrying him, so he had to come off. Odegaard, was being carried, he had to come off, and and Martinelli was just ineffective. That's a massive elephant in the room. What you could have done is that if you kept Ben White on the field, then you could have just put Tierney on to see if he could, like him and check if he could just be direct and be, like I said, direct left foot and play kind of the attacking role and see if he can get crosses in. That's something that could have been done. But then again, if you bring on Tierney, Trossard came on and he wasn't too bad. He was probably lightweight when he came on. Fabio Vieira, lightweight. You know what I mean? I think the problem is with Arteta is that he doesn't. Smith Rowe injured, Jesus injured. What Arteta should have done though is that the problem with Arteta is probably one of his strengths. He's only got plan A, and I say this without trying to, have a go at the guy. The problem is teams are working out plan A. You know what I mean? Because he's got for me, he's got plan A. Then he's got a A minus. Plan A involves Jesus. Plan A minus involves no Jesus, where he basically tries to get. He knows Eddie can't play the Jesus role, so he basically says, Eddie, I'm going to get Jack a overlap, and then he puts a cross in, and you can go and slid them in. But Everton dealt with Plan A minus, so and that's the problem with Arteta. There isn't a Plan B. You know what I mean? You know, he's put all his eggs in one basket tactically with Shevchenko. You know, with getting Xhaka further forward, making sure Thomas Partey is the team and the whole fulcrum of the team, to the extent that if Thomas Partey gets injured, where's the Plan B? Because Jorginho is not a Plan B. That's because of reasons that wasn't his game. Because Everton,
very interesting. We'll be talking about Jorginho later on in the show, anyway.
Well, it's not slagging him off, but you think about it, like when Arteta made his changes, there was no cohesion to what we were doing. No cohesion whatsoever. He put a lot of substitute in terms of Tomiyasu because Ben White wasn't playing well. But what was Tomiyasu offering? You know, we all won a goal down. We wanted Tomiyasu to come down that thing and give Saka some space. He didn't do it. So again, that's a substitute where you're thinking, are you bringing Tomiyasu to keep the score down? Because a lot of his substitutions were limitless because he doesn't have a Plan B. And with Smith, if Smith Rowe was fit, then you think, all right, maybe get Smith Rowe on, but he's not there. So what Arteta needs to learn to do, what if I have limited options on the bench and I only have Trossard, how am I going to, try and get us back into games? You know what I mean? Because I understand, like someone like Jorginho isn't on the pitch to get you back in the game. He's in the pitch to keep make sure you keep it a 1-0 to the extent that you start your position of possession. So all these things he needs to work out because, we've got people think that we've got a reprieve because Spurs beat Man City. Well, Spurs always beat Man City. It's not a reprieve. The fact is we've let the door open anyway because we've lost.
True.
So Man City's defeat isn't all bad because, by the time we get to like the second week of March, every team is going to play an equal amount of games. So we're playing Everton. So we'll know the table by then. We could be 8 points clear. It could be 5 points clear. We just don't know.
Very interesting. See, Oregongooner, I'll bring you down here. You heard what my big brother Jez down there said. You've heard what Kenny Ken said. These are legends, and they all know what they're talking about. See, I want to know what you are thinking right now. See, do you agree that our game plan has been found out? Has Arteta's game been found out? Or was that game against Everton a blip in the matrix? What do you think? And take us through that game, and everything that you felt that was wrong with that game.
Well, the first thing was the lineup. I would have probably even, I probably would have started Jorginho and Trossard just to see what the physicality would be like. And I know nobody rates Jorginho, but that's who we bought. He's in the squad, and that's what we bought him for. I agree with Kenny and I agree with Jez. I don't think Partey was 100% fit and probably not ready to start. So I would have thrown out Trossard and Jorginho for the first half, feel what the game's like, feel the physicality of the game, and then bring some more speed into it like Martinelli. We obviously know he's not in the best form in the last 3 games, and that's because he's been isolated in the left wing, and plus he's 21 years old. What are we expecting from this kid to really do and just be able to dodge double teams and whip balls in when he doesn't have his main man, Jesus, next to him? I mean, Eddie hasn't scored now in 2 games. This is what we talked about weeks ago. This is
exactly.
Weeks ago. Why didn't he put Martinelli up front and Trossard on the left? I mean, there's variations that Arteta isn't acknowledging, and he's purposely not doing. The Zinchenko diagonal run from the back has now been found out by Newcastle, Southampton, I believe, and now Everton. Our 4-2-3-1 turns into a 3-4-3 automatically on the first time we get the ball in our defensive third. It doesn't. The formation didn't stay together. like Jez said earlier, we completely overloaded the right side and depended on Saka to do everything, which he just can't do. He can't do his thing if he's getting double and triple teamed. So that left an outlet to the midfield, but we were never getting the ball across the midfield close enough to Martinelli, who was wide open. And he's just not the same without Jesus. I think we can directly correlate his loss of form to Jesus being injured.
Jesus.
Right? He's even admitted that. I think he was in an interview.
Statement there.
He's even admitted that he plays better with Jesus. Right? I don't even know how many times Eddie touched the ball last weekend, guys. I mean, this is what, again, I go back to this is what we were afraid of, is having an impotent attack, getting found out by more physical teams, and playing the wrong players at the wrong times, meaning Martinelli's out of form and Partey's injured. And again, the substitutes are just complete shit. What is Vieira going to do?
Shocking the game.
I mean, you can physically look and see that Vieira is not the one to put in the game. And unfortunately, El Neni, I believe, is injured, and he's one of the taller players on the team. So it was just kind of a shit show from the beginning to the end, I thought. The game was on at 4:30 here in Portland, and I was not getting up for that.
For that, right? Yeah, I saw you when you were saying, man, thank God you didn't watch that game. And thank God, Oregongooner, that you never watched that game. It was a horrible shit show. It was a massacre. For me, it's just better they should have beaten us 4-0 than coming out 1-0. It doesn't tell the complete story. We were out-muscled. We were out-muscled in the middle of the park. We tried shifting all our attention towards Saka, just what Kenny Ken said. Martinelli was ineffective. These guys came to play. And when they started, see, I'll go to you, Jez, let me don't talk too much, See, Jez, in this Arsenal team, we've won a lot of games this season. We've legitimately beaten teams this season that we never thought that we could actually, go up against. Like Liverpool, the game against Liverpool. Very hard-fought game, and we came out. The desire was there. The spirit was there to win that game. If you check the matchup against Manchester United, the never-die spirit was there. We were down. A goal, came back again. A goal again, came back again, and got the winner in that game. But in this game against Everton, a total shit show. We never had any spirit to come back into that game. There was no push. The guys from the bench were like, I don't know. What would you attribute this loss to? Because someone has to. This is an Arsenal therapy, definitely. So we're issuing a therapy for what happened last weekend. Jez, what would you pinpoint as the main problem? Are we being found out? Are we tired? Are the players knackered? Is it just because of Gabriel Jesus, just like Oregongooner attributed to? Are we over-reliant on Saka? And right now, Martinelli is not even putting in a shift for the past 3-4 games, and this guy just signed a new contract for the football club for the next 5 years. Jez, what do you have to say to that?
Well, first of all, no, they're not tired. They had 8 days to recover from the game, the previous game. Let's just throw that aside. These are professionals. They're super fit, and 8 days to recover. You're not often going to get that in a season. And let's just think about when we start to get back into the Europa League. Playing again Thursday, Sunday. So no, I don't go with that at all. Look, Tony, it purely is down to the fact that Martinelli was isolated on that left wing. Everything was going to the right wing, Saka. As soon as he got that ball, there was 2 players on him. Bang. Bang. Sean Dyche is a very, very shrewd manager. And I don't actually feel he gets the just deserves that he should. He's done some great. Okay, he's never won the Premiership or things like that. But what he does do, he knows how to negate a good football team. And Arsenal are a very good football team. But you have to look at it and say, okay, if Sean Dyche is going to do this, then we need to do this. But we don't have that ability. I'm sorry to say it, guys, our bench is so weak. Back in the times of the days when Arsenal could mix it up, we had players we could bring on and change the whole philosophy of the game. I'm sorry, we don't have that. And I've been saying this for the last 2 seasons. Bringing on Vieira, he's a lightweight. I don't doubt his ability, but he's gone. But the fact of the matter is, he's not big enough against that midfield and that defence. It's like me going up in a boxing match against Kenny. You know what I mean? It's just like never going to happen, is it? And you know, the fact of the matter is, Arsenal have a 11. They have an 11, and they have nothing else. And when that 11 breaks down, we have nothing to back it up. And also, I'll make out to you, Tony. I said this earlier.
Yeah.
We do not have a backup plan. I personally, watching that game, would have made a change. And I said it earlier. You know, Partey was just not in the game at all. He obviously is still feeling that knock that he got in the previous game.
They got right, yeah.
You can see that, and he's obviously trying to protect it. So why was he even in the squad? And that is something that seriously annoys me with Mikel Arteta, because Mikel Arteta hasn't been given the support he needed in the window. We bring in Jorginho, another Chelsea pensioner. Shocking, disgraceful. And that is, I'm sorry, Edu and Garlic Head and Vinay. They are a disgrace to Arsenal Football Club. This man, Mikel Arteta, yeah, I don't rate him. I don't want him. Never have. But fair play to the fella. He's done very, 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 very well. And if the point is, if the Cronkies state it's now all about trophies, then go and get the effing players. They haven't done it. They pontificate, piss arse around because they are nobody in power that can negotiate to get the deals over the line to actually bring the club forward. It's a disgrace. And I actually will sit here and state I feel sorry for Mikel Arteta. He's got the club this far. Why could not the club, Edu, and his gang of idiots,
and his cronies, yes.
Yeah, why could they not get this over the line? Why could they not sign the players he wanted? Shocking, disgraceful, and I feel so sorry for that man, because yeah, it was a shit show on Saturday at Everton. We haven't played there for 6 years. And they were there for a 3-point taking. But we came up against a far better tactical manager in that situation than Mikel Arteta.
True. Fact. See, I get you, Jess. And that takes me to my next question to you, Kenny Ken, yeah? See, Kenny Ken, Everton Football Club, in 20 games, they got 15 goals. In 20 games, they got 15 points. In 20 games, they've shipped in 28 goals. That's how bad their statistics is, yeah? See, they're rooted deep down 19th on the league table. And they just moved 3 steps ahead of course, when we gifted them this win, at Everton the other day last weekend. Yeah. See, Kenny Ken, yeah. Since 2017, Arsenal haven't gotten a win down there in Everton Football Club. And of course, they're the whooping boys of the league, right? Good. Sean Dyke came in down there, did what he had to do, and then he gets those precious 3 points from Arsenal Football Club. But look at the big thing here, yeah. Arsenal going into that match, we've lost a game against the FA Cup. Good. You to rally your boys in and make them win the next matchup. Good and okay. We're playing in that match. Somehow, when we need our replacement our bench to actually come into that match and turn it up a corner, we're bereft of ideas. Mikel Arteta used up everyone he should have actually used up on the bench, and there was just nothing that could be done. Now, this takes us to our transfer window, Kenny Ken. What would you say about our transfer window? What would you say about Edu? Because Mikel Arteta was calling out for signings, and lo and behold, we get Jorginho. We're in for Caicedo. Why not just stump up the cash, bring this guy in? I don't want to hear about DeclanRice in the summer. We're talking of now because we're at the verge of winning a title, the first in nearly about 19 years, 20 years or so. Anyway, which way you want to look at it, Kenny Ken, what do you have to say about that? We're bereft of ideas in the bench. Who should shoulder the responsibility for this? Are we looking at Mikel Arteta? Are we looking at the football club in terms of the board? Or are we looking at Edu?
Well, first and foremost, is that Mikel Arteta. You know, that's what happens when you prefer to work with small squads. Small squads. You know, some managers don't like working with small squads because they don't want the situation that Mikel Arteta had when he first trained the club, where he has what I call man management issues. So that's one thing. In terms of Edu, the thing is, Edu's excellent at getting his second and third choice, but when it comes to the main players that we're going for, the Mudryks and Caicedo, he's not very good at that. You know, the fact is, Brighton, said even the player wasn't for sale, and we accept that now. But the fact is, if we went in with the met the valuation, went up to us and said, "Look, here's 80 million starting price. What do you say?" I think Brighton would have talked. There's no way anyone. You talk about Brighton saying he's not for sale, but if you speak to their manager, even a few days into the transfer, towards the end of the transfer window, he was being realistic. He said, "We're Brighton," and that I spoke to him like a father because he knows the player's unsettled. He knows that Arsenal come knocking at the door, and even Mikel Arteta himself expressed disappointment at the fact that he didn't get the player. So, if you really, really want to play at Arsenal Football Club, don't go around using that phrase to your fans, because the fact is you have to negotiate at the top level. You got fans in there who say, "Oh yeah, why are we paying that for that money?" Well, not too funny. If you're talking like you're a top four club, or trying to get back in the Europa League, if you're going to try and win the league, you have to go into the same market as Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, and even Man United. Harry Maguire wasn't for sale at Man United. Man United paid 80 million, they got him, because that's what happens. You want the players, you give them the big money. You don't go in there with a valuation that is way below the valuation of the people you're trying to sell.
Player that you're trying to sell, yeah, exactly.
So, and it's same Mudryk as well. The fact is, Chelsea offered a better package, and they got the player. If you want a player, you pay the valuation. You want to win the league now and do win a Champions League. Don't start going for players that other clubs are going for. Don't just think, "Oh, right, we've done really good because we've got players that you're the only one in the market for." That's easy to get players like that. When you've got a player like top class players, that's when you need to offer something. You know what I mean? And Arsenal.
Yeah, but I still have questions down there for you, Kenny Ken, with what you just said. Yeah, good. If we're stumping up the cash for all these guys, I've watched Mudryk play for Chelsea.
He only won game though.
Player. I know. But again, he's not playing like 100 million player though. That's another thing. If you're a 100
only
million
one
player,
game.
you have to hit the ground running. I expect an
Yeah, but
Mbappe kind of play from you. But
but the fact
Mudryk
is,
isn't giving me those vibes.
I hear what you're saying, but they weren't saying that when he looked at his cameo at Anfield when he came on for 20 minutes. People universally, especially Arsenal fans, are thinking, God, they didn't say they dodged the bullet then, did they? They'll saying, oh, the fact is that, oh God, what have we done here? We should have got him. We should have paid the money, And that, but then he goes. Then what happens is that the next game against Fulham, a derby, Fulham venue deep, first home game. He's hit and miss. But the fact is that you have to think of the long term thing. Yes, you want your players to hit the ground running, especially when it comes to January. The fact is, is he a better long term prospect than Trossard? I think so. Is Caicedo a better long term prospect than Jorginho? I think so. Because simple reasons that the message you have to send to the fans is that we are now a team that is going to be challenged for titles. So we are spending title winning money. Yeah, it might go wrong, but you know what? That's what happens in football. We got fall for that with Pepe. Paid 72 million, it hasn't worked. You have to be able to, look at the situation and think, this is what you got to do to win the title. Arsenal fans should stop being accountants, because I think a lot of our fan base, they're caught. Ultimately, their ultimate goal isn't to get behind the club. The ultimate goal is to be seen to be the most loyal to the football club and to be the most positive fan ever. To be less, and if you're the most positive fan ever, you'll go with what's the most popular opinion. So, the most popular opinion at the moment is praise of the team and praise of the manager. Mm-hmm. So, the popular opinion to say, well, he didn't cost too much. Oh, look at him, he's awful. We dodged a bullet. That's all Arsenal fans' goal at the moment, is to be seen as because who can get by the team most. Because let me tell you something now, all of our social media people, and I include mine in that because I'm playing a lot of podcasts, we're only about 0.1% of the fan base. The guys are terrorists. Hardly any of them, especially older fans, Jez's age and my age, they haven't heard of any of you lot. They haven't heard of any of these podcasters or Twitter or anything. That's alien to them. As far as they're concerned, you don't cover the fan base. And I think what a lot of our online friends think, they actually think they are the fan base. Hence the fact they start insulting other people when they don't think it's positive. But the fact is, they have to be realistic and ask themselves, top 4 or title, which means go for big names.
True. I sincerely agree. And of course, because Jez is a lover of my show. He loves my shows. He comes down here to chop it up with me. I go to Jez show sometimes to be on the charts with him. You know why? That's because we're being realistic. If something is going wrong, there's no. It's not wrong to call it if it's going wrong. And if there's areas where you have to praise the football club, you give them praise. The Jorginho signing was a no-no for me. Oregongooner, you were here on the show that day. We called it out. We said, no, this is not the signing we all wanted in the football club. You called it. I called it. When Kivio came, we were like, okay, good. It's a nice one. Let's see if we can try him out. Good and okay. When Trossard came out, Oregongooner, you were here. We called it out. We praised, Edu for that signing, but not that signing couldn't have happened even with minimal effort. Like, that was a signing that anyone could actually do. The most important thing is to go into the market and get the hard deals done. And that was that Caicedo signing. It was a hard one to make. But again, the player wanted to leave the football club anyway.
Right.
This guy.
But we didn't. But one thing, Tony, about Caicedo, Tony.
We left this guy out to dry. Oregongooner, what do you have to say?
Well, I think that we didn't. From what I remember, we didn't know Caicedo's valuation until we tapped him up. We essentially tapped him up, and we tapped him up at 65 mil, and they said no. And then we tried again. Well, 60 mil. We said 65, 70, and they said no. We went out there and we basically tried to tap him up, and it didn't work. We found out the valuation after we already put in the $60 million bid. So the Caicedo signing was going to be fucked from the beginning, right? You can't, it's tapping a player up. We've heard many teams get in trouble for it in recent years. Maybe not much anymore because I think it's pretty much common practice. But we basically just went and tapped him up and, expecting Brighton to just say, okay, we'll take the money. But not all. The philosophy of some of those clubs, they don't need to sell.
They don't need to sell.
They don't
Exactly.
need to sell.
Most of their best players, they're not like
Right.
Arsenal in some cases where all our best players have been sold off and the shitty ones remain in the football club without being shipped out.
And what I've talked about before, Tony, on Jez's show, that shows the arrogance of Edu and the board and Vinay and some of the management team at Arsenal to think that we're so good that we should just pick any player we want from any team in any league and they're just going to sign on the dotted line is narcissistic thinking on our part. And look at what we ended up with. A player that Chelsea wanted to let go probably a season or two ago. But it was also a player that Pep Guardiola and Arteta were looking at before he joined Chelsea. Remember, he was linked to City as well before he joined Chelsea.
Right?
I think there was a connection between Arteta and Jorginho. We've seen him. I've seen Arteta hugging Jorginho. I really think there was an ultimate plan to get Jorginho either into City or Arsenal one way or the other. Because again, I'll say it again, City was looking for him 3 or 4 seasons ago before he joined Chelsea. He was definitely on Pep's radar. So the Jorginho deal's done. There's not a lot to say about it. He's going to get game time, which is unfortunate. We'll see. All we can do kind of is get behind the guy. But to think that he was the only option between 80 mil and 15 mil spent is just fucking ridiculous and is a big failure on Edu's part.
Where was the next 40 million pound player? The next 30 million pound player?
Why were we looking at a Bayern Munich or a Dortmund
football club?
Or teams in Germany, teams in France? What happened to some of the stronger teams in the Portuguese league or even some of the teams in the championship division? I'm sure there's some DMs in there that are better than Jorginho, at least more athletic, that are less money, right? So it just
Jez have even called one on one of his shows and my show too. Yeah. He came in and he spoke about McAllister. I'm surprised no one talked about this guy. No one talked about bringing this guy. I felt that guy would have been very, very available. If we went for that guy, it would be more cheaper as a player to bring into the football club and more easier. And, he's played in the highest, of places in the World Cup. He's proved himself down there. We could have gone. At least put in a chicken bid for this guy.
Right. And it's up front because, you don't hear any, the players that we rate because we see on different leagues on television or YouTube or what have you, a lot of those guys aren't even visible to Edu, right? Edu has no, I think, clue. He only picks people by names, right? He's not looking at all of Europe and performances. He knows names, and that's who he knows, and that's who he goes after. And unfortunately, he's missing a lot of talent. I don't know why we didn't go for someone like the CDM for Brentford. Vander something, I don't know his name, but anyway, another top player. Why didn't we go in for like a Goretzka or someone like that from Bayern Munich? Why didn't we look at some players from Dortmund? I mean, or some players from Inter, players from Juventus. Well, Juventus are shit, but Napoli or something. There has to be more than Caicedo and Jorginho. That's all I get trying to say. It's just such a drastic difference in quality, money, athleticism, all those things, and we got left hanging with the short end of the stick on this one.
Exactly. See, Jez, I have 2 questions for you before I go to Kenny Ken with a different one. See, Jez, look at this. We picked up Jorginho for £12 million. For you, is that a sacrilege? For you, is that does that deal? Does it reek of? I don't want to use that word here, but does it smell fishy to you? That 12 million, because how can we be paying 12 million pounds for Jorginho, who was already out of the club, Actually, he's on the bench in that. He hasn't been playing for that football club, and then we're getting him for about $15 million.
Oh, mate, this is what seriously frustrates me with Arsenal. The guy is a reject at Chelsea. We've seen this time in memorial. The only decent ex-Chelsea player we ever got was William Gallas.
And even that one,
we've got Peter Cech.
he collapsed, actually.
You know, I mean, it's shocking. Jorginho, I remember the day, that Monday last week when we signed him, and I was having a drink with a couple of Chelsea fans, proper Chelsea fans, and they were saying, well, you've got a great player there because he never loses the ball. I went, yeah, okay, I don't know a lot about him. I don't watch Chelsea apart from when we were playing him in the league. And when I saw him play at the weekend, I actually texted one of my mates, a Chelsea fan, lifelong Chelsea fan, proper Chelsea, and I said, are you taking the effing piss? This guy's crap. He is proper slow. He is proper slow, and he can't hold the ball up.
He gave the ball away several times in that match.
I know Everton were on us because that was their game plan. They were going to Everton were going to bully us all day long. We've seen it time in, time out. And this, Tony, is what I don't get with Arteta. He does never seem to learn how previous matches are. We've been up there. He's been up there 4 times now, and he has never learned. But getting back to Jorginho, the guy is pony. I'm sorry, he is a bad a signing as Willian. Willian played one good game for Arsenal, the opening game of the season against Fulham. After that, he was absolute dog shit.
Shocking. And
the fact of the matter remains, and this is what annoys me, and I know this to be an absolute true factual comment. Willian's contract, when we bought him, he had to play a minimum of 25 league games. Fact. And that's come from a very, very solid source. That was in his contract. Now, if you're telling me that's good business by Arsenal Football Club, then it's joke time. Because his agent, Willian, negotiated a shit deal with Arsenal Football Club. And, who were the people negotiating it? Vinay, Garlic Head. Yeah?
Edu.
I don't think Edu was in part of it then. I'm not sure about that.
No, Edu wasn't there, yeah.
But the fact of the matter is this is the way Arsenal Football Club can be bullied into contracts. It's a disgrace because this guy, Jorginho, is he going to benefit the club? I don't think so. He will probably be a bench player and come on and see out his contract, see out his playing career at Arsenal Football Club. What that man should have bloody done, come out of Stamford Bridge, turn right down the road to the Chelsea Pensions Hospital, because that's where all the guys are with the red coats and the black hats.
Man, shocking, man. You go to tap into your bench on a day you need something different, and you don't get anything. You can't get anything out of these players. It's shocking. It's shocking. See, Kenny, you have a question down here from no other person than the Assembled himself. The Assembled says here, Kenny, do you think, now this is a very tricky one, yeah, Kenny, do you think Edu and co can only spend what is made available to them.
Yes,
I know my answer, but I'll leave you
because
to answer that.
Arsenal have had a history of not meeting clubs' valuations. They're always trying to go in low. We've got evidence of this years before. There's been we're even talking even before Ahmed was at the football club when he was only a player. Arsene Wenger had this issue when he was at the club. George Graham had this issue. And we certainly had that at Terry Neal. I can think of a few players. For instance, 1988. Like summer 1988, Arsenal Everton went in for Toniclaude. Toniclaude ends up going to Everton. We ended up winning the league, but he went to Everton instead of us. Yeah, I know Everton won the title, a couple of titles on Harry Kendall, but Everton won we were an up and coming team on George Graham. We didn't manage to get Toniclaude, and that was 35 years ago. So we are fast forward it now. We've seen a litany of situations, even something like Gary Cahill, before he won the European Cup and the FA Cup with Chelsea in 2012. We didn't meet Bolton's valuation, only for him to go to Chelsea 6 months later. So, it's my guy is 100% right. The fact is that we do have to like I said, look at the situations and understand that that Edu spends what's given to him. He's obviously the cap is on him. He's probably if you want to give him maybe a bit of credit, you can say, well, you're making negotiations. It's over you to provide the money, and then he gets told, well, this is what we can provide. The fact is that the people who's in charge of the purse strings is Josh Kroenke and his dad. They're the ones who write off all the sort of checks. So again, the challenge for these guys is don't talk the talk if you're not going to walk the walk. After you accept that, you have to take risk financially if you want to. Like I said, win titles. Because I'll tell you one thing: you can't just rely on your youth team. You can't rely on bargains. No bargains, mate. Those are the sort of people, players you get if you want to, be a mid-table team or probably sneak into the top four. But if you're trying to win the league,
see, in the transfer window, when you're going for players, when you're going for this 80 million, 100 million players that are valued at that price, and you're haggling with the price range, and you're going on and on and on with that haggling, and Chelsea Football Club comes in gazumsos. Now, the back end, the retribution of that problem is that when other clubs like Brighton see you, they know you have money already. They know you have 100 million
but the thing is,
ready to spend.
It's not as if these clubs didn't know you have the money. The fact is, if a big club comes calling, of course they're going to up the price. Look, I'll tell you one thing. You think it's bad in the Premiership. What about in Europe? Most leagues in Europe are skin. In fact, every year in Europe is skin except for the Premiership. The Premiership is the only league in Europe that actually survived COVID. It managed to keep its TV deals, and it managed to keep its, keep even some of its merchandise deals coming in because they did a lot of their stuff online. They still had the same TV deals. The fact is that our cousins in the Bundesliga, La Liga, and Serie A, and even La Liga in France, they do not have the products that we can sell in this country in the UK. So they are gonna up the price when the Premiership comes because they need the money. They're not messing around the Premiership. The Premiership is one of the least affected leagues financially. I mean, they'll make all excuses they can. I mean, some clubs will say, "Oh yeah, because of COVID." No, mate. You've made more than that money up through your TV deals. You know what I mean? You survive adequately without crowds. Adequately, more than adequately.
Yeah. True.
You know what I mean?
True.
If you think about Jack Grealish, sorry, 1 minute. Remember Jack Grealish? For about 18 months, for about a year, there was no crowds. Man City still had £100 million to pay for him the season after when we got crowds back, didn't they? So don't tell me the Premiership ain't skin. They've got money. The rest of Europe haven't.
Yeah. Oregongooner, you have 2 questions here because you're going to kickstart the next round of question in here, which is a general one. But I will give you this guy, Prince Fuad, who is a friend of the family down here. They all know Prince Fuad. Is a friend of ours. He's a friend of me, friend of my show too. Me and him would think alike, but me, I'm more direct with my own approach. If something is bad, I call it's bad. If it's good, it's good. So that's my own. There's no pretense here. Call a spade a spade. See, but I'll give you this one from Prince Fuad here. As a friend of the house, he says this question: do you think we should rest players on Saturday?
I think we should rest Eddie and Nketiah and put Martinelli up front and Trossard on the left. I also think we need to rest Partey because he's probably even more injured than he was last week now. But I don't know who to put in there exactly. Yeah, Jorginho and Xhaka. Midfield of Jorginho and Xhaka. So let's figure that out now. Combined age of 62 years old. So, we should rest players. I would give Martinelli one more chance and take Eddie off because he hasn't scored in 2 games. I'd put Martinelli up front to see what he can do and give Trossard a start for sure. So, we should rest players. Yeah. Defensively, I'm not so sure. Maybe give Gabriel a break and bring in Kiwior. Keep Rob Holding as far away from the club as possible. Leave him on the bus. I don't even want him to get off the bus. If you have a bus, Rob Holding can just go to the MLS. I don't even want to see him on the team sheet. I don't think we should give up on Martinelli yet because, like we talked about before, he's not getting. Well, number one, he's not getting the service. He's being isolated on the left. He's getting double teamed every time he touches the ball. He's a 21-year-old kid. He sees Jesus.
But should that even be the topic in the first place? We just gave this guy a 5-year contract.
He's good. I think it's fine. A lot of players lose form. We see it all the time.
Discussing that.
He's losing form because of certain things. He's not just losing form because he's not good anymore. He's losing form because we're overloading the right side. He's getting double teamed on the left. He doesn't have Jesus to weave in and out. All he has is lateral running Eddie who just waits for the ball in the box. No disrespect. He hasn't scored in 2 games. We have to score. We haven't scored goals. We haven't scored in 2 games. We have to score goals. Give Martinelli a chance up front. Put Trossard on the left, and then whatever we can do to clog up the midfield and bring Kiwior in for probably Gabriel or Saliba. I can deal with that, but I can't deal with Eddie.
You can deal with that, yeah.
I can't deal with Eddie up front again and him not scoring for a 3rd game in a row because Brentford's probably going to score. They're going to score 1. Ivan Toney's going to be up for it.
Oh my God, Ivan Toney! Oh my God, he always practically wants to score against us. See, we're going to a new round. Yeah, of course, this is Arsenal therapy with legends down here. Yeah, Jess Collins, Kenny Ken, and of course Oregongooner. See, Jess, this is a new one now. A new round now. See, as this program, of course, this show, this stream is an Arsenal therapy, and part of a therapy is, what are the solutions? What are the solutions right now that we need to impute into this team? Right now, the transfer window, it's over. We have to make do with the team we have. We need to get behind the team we already have right now because that's the only way we can win the league, right, Jets? But what should Arteta do to make sure that this Everton rot doesn't carry on onto the next game? And mind you, we have rough games coming up. This game against Brentford is going to be a very, very tough one. And I need not to tell you, the elephant in the room is coming in the next 2 weeks. Manchester City, a must-win game, no matter what's going on or swelling around about what's going on in that football club. We have to win that game. Kill it, bury it, and end it once and for all. Jess Collins, what therapy, what solution can you give to this team? What should we do in order to stop the rot in this game? Because as champions, we shouldn't be losing to Everton. And even if we did lose against Everton, we shouldn't carry it to the next game. What should we do? What are the solutions to this problem?
Well, to me, it's quite simple. We put take out Partey or Odegaard. I think Partey won't participate. I think he will be injured. If he starts, I think it's a bad move. I would stick Zinchenko in there. Move Xhaka to the right, put Zinchenko in left, and I'd start Tierney. And I would also put Martinelli if he starts. Well, who else have we got to put in there? Who else have we got to put in there?
That's a funny one.
You know, this. I'm sorry, guys. It's not a laughing matter, is it? Really? Because who the hell else have we got to put in there that can play that position?
Just Smith Rowe's injured, El Neni's injured, and somebody else is injured.
Smith Rowe is injured. Jesus can only come back in the next 2 weeks.
We won't see El Neni. We won't see him for the rest of the season. He's gone. I mean, I'll give a new contract because did you see the classic statement? Oh, he's family. Oh, we give a new contract. Yeah. Fucking great. Nice one. Bullshit. But, sorry, get back to the point. I'd start Tierney. I'd put Zinchenko into midfield. And I'd move Xhaka or him into that. Swap the positions wherever. Martinelli, we're going to have to start him because we ain't got nobody else. Saka will start him. And we run out of gas, don't we, really? Because we've got Ben White and we've got Saliba, Gabriel. Who else? No
one.
No one. Oh, we've got Rob Holding.
You have to get off the bus, Jez.
Jez, I actually banned that name in my on my platform. I don't want to hear Rob Holding, on this platform, but of course, because of you, no problem. I actually banned him because I don't want that guy anywhere near our football club. I don't know why he's still there. He doesn't want to play, doesn't have any ambition. The chances he's been given, he can't use it. What do we have him there for? Should be out from this football club. Ken, should Eddie Nketiah be starting our game against Brentford? And mind you, games are coming in thick and fast against Manchester City. Should we be fielding Eddie Nketiah in that game? Is it the best formation we should be having in terms of our striking partnership formation down there? Should this guy be starting, up front for us?
Well, the thing about it is you've got to win the Brentford game because at the end of the day, if you win, you're 8 points ahead. You put Man City under pressure when they play, Emery's Aston Villa, who, let's face it, you don't know which team's going to turn up. Man City is still, if Pet's still tinkering with his formations, and he's got one eye on the game on Wednesday. It's an opportunity where if he doesn't play his best team, he might drop points. We could drop points as well. We don't play our best players because let's face it, a lot of people. I'm in slight disagreement with one selection. I think I would play Trossard instead of Martinelli, and I'll bench Martinelli because as much as they say let's play Martinelli up front,
Good comment, Kenny. Good comment.
I can't. I'll leave him on I'll bench him. I'll play Eddie up front. My midfield will consist of. I'll have to ask Grant Jack and say, mate, can you do us a favour, and get back to the position we don't really like you in, and I'll just play Odegaard and I'll just say, Jorginho, we're playing at home. We're going to have most of the ball. Just be the water carrier and dictate our play like you were bought to do for the club, like you do at Chelsea occasionally, and then I could say to Zinchenko, you know what, I'm going to give you a bit of a break, mate. I'm going to play Kieran today because I think that we could do with a direct left back who doesn't need to come in the midfield because with Jorginho in there who can take the play and with in terms of like Odegaard as well, we'll try and do something a bit different, tinker a bit. We can Zinchenko, can save Zinchenko, Zinchenko for Wednesday. And then in terms of like right back situation, Ben White is exactly putting up any trees. I play, I've got no objection to playing Tomiyasu there. And then, unfortunately, as much as we want Saka to get a rest, we know our manager ain't going to give Saka a rest. So you kind
Of course, he always likes playing him.
Yeah. So you just tinker a little bit, but in terms of Martinelli and Martinelli, that's a no for me now. Bench now.
Why don't you want to give him? Why don't you guys want to give him a chance up front? Seems like a lot of people on YouTube just feel like he's just not good enough up front, and I think he's.
But we've tried that scenario before, and it ended badly. It ended in him getting injured.
I don't think we've tried it. But the fact is that it's a man management issue for the manager. If you've given Eddie a new contract, and for all intents and purposes, he hasn't done too badly since the start of basically like the resumption of the league in terms of scoring against Everton, scoring a couple of goals. Scoring not Everton, getting West Ham, scoring against Brighton and United's couple of goals. You're thinking you're giving them a run of games. You're either giving them a run of games, you ain't giving them a run of games. You're
talking of Eddie Nketiah. I was talking of Martinelli because Martinelli.
No, what I'm trying to say is that
why he doesn't want Martinelli up front.
Yeah, for people talking about like getting a Martinelli up front, and I understand that, I do get that, but I like the only way I'll have him up front if he has someone like Jesus alongside him. But because I look at him with his back to goal, I could see him doing it because of his pace and getting on the shoulder, which he was really good at doing. But again, it's about the service, isn't it? The service has to be really good. We have to be really direct. We've got to play quick passes for him to make the runs. Because the way we play, if we play Martinelli up front, we're trying to get Saka in a game, trying to get Odegaard again. The fact is that you can do that of Eddie to a certain extent and Jesus because they'll both attack the box. Martinelli, we haven't seen much of Martinelli doing that. But term things with Eddie,
I just think he's a lot more mobile, Kenny. He's a lot more mobile than Eddie. He moves around, and I think he's got a lot of pace. A good combination.
Yeah, he's got a good definitely. I think what it is. I don't know, man, because the way Mikel's talking, I don't see it. I don't see him doing it. But if we do play it Martinelli up front, we're going to have a situation where we're going to have to play to be a bit more direct and get him on that shoulder where he'll kill teams. I think.
But can't Trossard do that?
Oh, he can. Trossard was brilliant because Trossard could do the Jesus role, and then he could create space for him. So that is definitely workable. But the thing is that should we rest in Eddie for Man United, for Man City to keep him fresh for Man City, or do we just play him? That's the thing. If we play,
that's another thing.
Because we're not leaving Eddie out on form. We're leaving him out to wrap him in cotton wool. So that's what you'll do if you're playing Martinelli up front.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, Kenny. He hasn't scored in 2 games, and you're right. We probably do need to maybe keep him a little more fit for City. I just think that Eddie's he runs into the box, and he kind of just, to me, he just kind of waits to poach the goals, which is good. But I just think that maybe something with Brentford, we need to maybe mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
He's
got a lot of service, though, isn't he?
A lot of resilience from some people on YouTube or even in some chats on social media to really put Martinelli up front. And I just think that maybe this is a chance to do that now that we have Trossard on the left. Right, Trossard, Odie, and Saka with Martinelli up front.
Eddie hasn't scored in two games, so let's just put that in our mind. See,
if you turn that into all right, if you say all right, fair enough, it's good to go, but Eddie's supporters are going to say right in the games he has played. How many games is it since? All right, if you say there's been since Boxing Day, there's been about 7 games or 8 games.
Yeah,
his supporters would say, "Well, Eddie, why are you leaving Eddie out? He hasn't scored in 2 games, but he scored 5 and 8." They're going to say, "Well, that's a good ratio." So I think that's another argument that you know that it's going to be waste.
Yeah,
but in
for the
terms of
scouts,
like
right?
Martinelli up front, it's workable only if we played direct and we played the through pass for him, or we have a situation where he gets the ball deep and he runs and go at goal. In terms of him doing like those ones where someone puts a crossing, crossing is
Crossing, yeah.
I think for Martinelli to play up front, we need to turn him in a bit of a Aubameyang type striker, where when Aubameyang was on that left hand side, Aubameyang that instinct where he could just, because of his pace and coming from the left, boom. So I can see why Oregongooner is looking at that, because he does. I do look at it left side, a left sided forward, cutting into the box late, timing his runs.
But we all know Mikel Arteta doesn't think in that direction. Mikel Arteta doesn't think in that direction. He might be a little bit stubborn to actually make those type of changes. But anyway, we will soon be going because, of course, Jez gave me a 1 hour limit for this show. But Jez, please, I will just pick you on this last one. All of us will just, get in on this one. Not more than 3 minutes, each of us. Jez, please give us that time. It's this issue of Manchester City. See, Jez, what do you think about that Manchester City issue? Should they be punished for that 100 breaches of FFP rules? The Premiership have laid those charges, those allegations on them. There will be a commission coming up to talk about it with them. So what do you think should be the punishment for this? Do you think Arsenal should be a little bit, happy, or what do you think? What's your own take on that issue of FFP breaches? 100, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 50, 100. Jess Collins, 100.
Right. Okay. Look, let's put. I've seen so much today about supposedly Premier League clubs. Sorry. Oh, they should be kicked out. This, that, blah, 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 blah. Right. People in glass houses don't throw
stones, right?
I can almost guarantee that Arsenal are not innocent of doing dirty deals. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. We have Cronkies as the owners. And look at what they got done for in the NFL. Hundreds of millions they got fined for dirty dealings. Now, there's all kinds of speculation of what's happened at Manchester City. Now, I'm sure some of it is true. We're dealing with Arab owners. Dealing with Arab companies, as I have done in my past history in business, they are an absolute nightmare. Seriously, they are a nightmare. Now, I'm not saying they're the only people that can be like that, because they're not. So I'm just going to sit here and say I'll make no comment, because if the Premier League and the FA are looking at them, then I don't think the Premier League and the FA will be not looking at any other club. They'll be looking at just about every club. They'll be looking at Arsenal. They'll be looking at Chelsea. They'll be looking at Liverpool. Man United with the Glaziers. Now there's a smoke screen for what goes on there. I was chatting to a mate of mine tonight in my pub who's Newcastle. And he was devout that, Newcastle won't have done anything wrong. I said, how do you know? Look at the shady dealings that Man City have done with undercover companies that Money's been transferred here, there. I said to him, how do you know that Newcastle, with your owners, coming from Arab states, a conglomerate, don't do the same? I said, don't think that you're innocent, because I honestly would say this to you guys and the chat. I would not believe one Premier League football club is innocent to a level of some shame.
Interesting. Kenny Ken, please just take a cue from them. Let's just make it quicker so that we all can all go home. Of course, Oregongooner, you have to answer that question too. Kenny Ken, the Manchester City issue. Should they be charged? They're already charged, but what is the best punishment for these guys? 100 charges leveled against these guys. What do you think? I saw you posting it up on your Instagram page.
Under those circumstances, should they be stripped of their titles? Because at the end of the day, you win them on the pitch. If you can't beat someone on the pitch, then do it. I want to win the title on a pitch. But the thing with Man City, the fact of Man City is they're cooking the books. I can guarantee you, there's 19 other clubs that are doing it. Only they've probably done it more. Arsenal cook the books, Man City cook the books. Chelsea cook the books. Every Premiership club cooks the books. Even clubs in the Championship cook the books. I think there's hysteria about clubs saying, "Oh yeah, let's give Liverpool and Man United fans want the title given to them." No, you don't. No, you weren't good enough on the pitch. The fact is, the Premiership have to tighten their belt, tighten up their procedures. They haven't. They've left loads of loopholes, and it's getting found out. The reason why they're always going to look at a club like Man City is because they can't understand that a club that was only bought 15 years ago, all of a sudden, is now topping the sort of like the sponsorship charts in football at such a short time. And I do get that. What their concerns, and maybe there'll be a bit of evidence. But I can tell you right now, Man City are going to get some big lawyers. And they're going to get it down to maybe the odd couple of points reductions, and maybe a hefty fine, and maybe a transfer embargo. There'll be no expulsion.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, I've got to go, man.
Yeah. Okay. Jez, thank you for coming to the show, and big ups to you, Jez. Jez, would you shout out your channel, please, before you go?
Arsenal History and More. And I'm doing a show tomorrow night, 6:00 podcast with Kenny Ken, the legend, Gracie May, and Carl Walsh. And I've got a very new guest coming on in Mr. B for Life, Brentford fan, which is quite apt. So we got Arsenal Brentford at the weekend, so that'll be quite interesting. It's the first time he's ever been on a podcast, so he has said he'll be a little bit nervous, and he may not show his face. And I said that's fair play, man, because going live on these shows, it does take something, doesn't it? And fair play to the fella. Tony, thanks for having me on, man.
Big ups to you, Jez. Hopefully see you soon.
I've enjoyed it. Kenny Ken, I'll see you tomorrow, bro. And DVS, legend. Love you, man.
Big ups.
Legend.
Big ups. Big
ups.
ups.
I'll catch you boys all later, yeah?
Yeah, sure. Big ups, Jess. Thanks, guys.
You.
Yeah, I would go to Jess' channel and subscribe to that channel. Great guy, great legend. He loves Arsenal Football Club. He's supporting Arsenal Football Club for how many donkey years? Yeah, that's a legend. See, Oregongooner. Yeah, we're talking about this Manchester City stuff. Yeah, what should be the punishment for these guys? Yeah, because if you've been charged with about 100 of these breaches, you should be getting an enormous corpus of punishment that should be leveled against you. Do you
so
think
too.
that expulsion fits the billing? In this case.
Yeah, and I know we talked before about, like Kenny said, and Jez, 19 other clubs are probably doing it. Probably so, but that doesn't make it right.
The Fight Week show, big ups to you.
Oh,
And
big
it says
up,
big up to the big uncle Jez, Oregongooner, of course, Kenny Ken, the host Claude himself. Big ups to you, Fight Show, the Fight Week show.
So if all the clubs are doing it, that doesn't make it right, Tony? I mean,
True.
If all the other clubs are doing it, that doesn't make it right. I mean, it's probably happening. The fact is they got caught, and they got caught big time. They were creating companies that were donating money to the club out of thin air. I don't know of any times Arsenal's done that in its history.
I don't think so.
Right? Maybe
unless Ken would tell us if something like that has happened.
But creating shell companies to move money to a specific entity, right, is against the law. All over, it'd be against the law in America, Portugal, France, Spain, everywhere. You just can't do that. Now, are other clubs doing it? Maybe so. But the fact is they got caught, and 100+ charges. Whew, that's a lot.
That's too much.
That's too much, and that's a lot. And now some people think that's an overreach from the Premier League, but when you have emails talking about specifics of this, you're pretty much caught red-handed. And I think they should be made an example of, and not just because they're second place, not because they've basically, bought titles, in my opinion, over the last 10, 12 years, but because there's a fraudulent, real conspiratorial element to what happened. It's not just some random shit that just happened out of the blue and money was transferred and that's that. This was a real sophisticated operation that they're doing. And I think they should get maybe knocked down to the championship division. Definitely 15 or 20 points taken off, and they should be relegated or be some sort of sporting punishment, not just a fine. And that's just my opinion. I know that probably differs with a lot of people, but what they did is serious. And stripping titles, I agree to a point with Kenny and Jez that's really like, what is that really gonna do, right? What's the real purpose and action of stripping titles away? But on the basis that those titles were purchased with fraudulent money to buy
with fraudulent money.
Totally
agree with you, Oregongooner.
To me, means that the title isn't deserving of the winner, regardless of the players on the pitch, because they were purchased with fraudulent money.
But just to take a cue from what Kenny Ken said, should they should those titles be vacated? The titles they've won, should they be vacated in any way? Oregongooner.
Sorry, I had you on mute. I thought you were talking to Kenny. Should they be taken away, the titles?
Yeah.
I'm 50-50 on that. Part of me says yes, because they're bought with fraudulent money. And part of me is no, because like Jez and Kenny said, it's not the players' fault. They performed on the pitch. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Why should their trophies and awards be taken from them personally? So I'm really 50-50 on that, Tony. I don't have a yes or no for that. I think that's a real gray area that, unfortunately is going to turn one way or the other, but you're going to have people that agree one way or the other anyway. So to be honest, I don't think that's just a clear-cut answer.
See, Kenny Ken, see, the Fight Week show, Ola, is a big friend of my show here. Me and him have a show down here too that we do weekly. We do the preview games most of the time. He's also a friend to your friend too, Lee Gooner. They do lots of shows together, the Fight Week show. He says something. He says, Don Rao cooked the books when we bought Pepe. Do you agree with that statement, Kenny Ken?
Well, I think we did do that, but Oregongooner's got a point. I think what I said. It's something that's got to be looked at. Personally, I think the expulsion they'll fight. fight points to. I think the only deterrent to if Man City are found guilty is points deductions. But the fact is how many points deductions we've got. Because remember, Juventus got 15 for a whole separate
15.
issue. So Serie A a set an issue, but remember, Juventus Juventus have got form of fraud, didn't it? Remember, Calcioli, where they in 2006, where they went down to division, where they Juventus had form, but this is the president, at the Premier League got the like I said, the cojones to make that decision because they've tried it before. They have tried it. They tried it. They tried it with Spurs about 29 years ago, where again it had something to do with illegal payments, illegal loans to certain players. Paul Gascoigne was one of them, and Ozzy Ardiles with a tax issue. They did try to remove. I think they tried to deduct points from Spurs, and I think they tried to kick him out one of the cups. Alan Sugar appealed it, and they were able to. Get off of it because he tried to say, well, hang on, it had nothing to do with me. This is all, something to do with Irving Scholar's time and Venables. This is a different situation now where the same regime are involved.
Yeah.
But this let's not forget the Premier League have tried this before, so it's not a new precedent. In terms of what Man City, if you're talking about deterrence, the only deterrent is the points deduction. But with Man City's fancy lawyers, I think they'll, if any point deduction that they get, I think they'll get it down to probably 4 or 5 points.
4 or 5 points or something like that. But again, when these guys have big lawyers coming up, they will have the best lawyers all up on this case. Yeah, they might get out of this case legitimately.
Money doesn't only buy you love, it buys you quite a lot more than love. Money.
Exactly. I do agree with you, Ken, on that one.
Shit.
It buys you titles too.
But I think you guys hit the nail on the head before too. If you investigate City, then you got to look at Chelsea, which I would disagree with. You got to look at Liverpool. You got to start looking at other clubs, right? But like Tony said, 100+ charges. No other club has ever had that many. Like all I said about us with Pepe, right? It's ridiculous.
It's
Pepe, he got 20 mil. I mean, what's his name ran away with 20 mil, and that's all that happened.
You know what this is, right?
Cases, charges.
It's much.
You know what it is, right? It's like two things could have happened, right? Either you know they've been doing it, but you give them enough rope to hang themselves,
right?
And then in order to build a bigger case, so it's watertight case. You can't just do on about 10 charges. You get them 100. Well, you're not exactly hedging your bets. You're going to get some sort of punitive, like I said, statements or punitive results.
That's why it's 100.
In terms of leaks everything. Again, the reason why Spurs got caught out is because simple reason is that a lot of the Ozzy Ardiles got a tax bill where he challenged it. And because he challenged it, that's when the taxman got the league involved. So again, is it someone making a dispute or a company, someone making a dispute about something, gone to Premier League, and the Premier League have opened up a can of worms? Because that in football, and I talk about the Premier League, they don't want no trouble. They don't go looking for things. It gets brought to them. Because that when it comes to the status quo, every Premier League sort of CEO doesn't want to upset the big clubs, don't upset these members. Right. They want to make sure everything goes smoothly. They get their TV deals, they get their money. That everything comes. That they understand the big clubs are going to want the biggest share, but they want to also look for the smaller clubs. They want to make sure that everyone benefits from that beautiful TV deal they get from overseas, especially in the United States where you're from, Oregongooner, and obviously, places in Africa and Australia, and especially the Far East, which is the real money, the Far East. So this has been brought to their attention, and it's because someone hasn't been paid. A
Yeah.
bill hasn't been paid. A player has probably got a tax bill, or an agent's got a tax bill and says, "I'm not dealing with it. You're meant to deal with it." That's the only way this works.
Yeah, I think they've already found some emails, Kenny, that have come from city management. You know, there's been emails that have shown up online that have been exchanged.
Yeah, there's been emails and stuff.
You know, I mean,
Kenny, the proofs are coming out from everywhere.
We know. But the only reason why they come to light is because that's the worms. But who opens the can? We know it's the worms. Those are the worms you're talking about. But the can is opened by in terms of
someone.
Spurs, 29 years ago, it was someone challenging a tax bill, someone's invoice not getting paid, and then that's when the Premier League acts. They don't monitor anything.
Right, it all comes from accounting. It's the accountants that see the numbers, right, and see the irregularities and so forth, and players coming in and out and operations of the club. You know, you're exactly right. You know, I just think that, you know, like I said, Ola said, you know, we cooked the books with Pepe, but we paid that. Like, I think that was we were taken advantage of by Solani or Raul Solani or whatever his name was.
Yeah,
it was
we got rid of him. We got him out of the club. We got him out of the club. He
literally took money from us, right? I was just like.
Yeah, but the fact is that the books were cooked. The books were cooked. So there should be a form of punitive measures handed down to us. But of course, probably we've run away from that. And of course, I don't want our club to be in any of those troubles anyway.
Do I look at it? Think worms, worms don't appear from themselves. Someone has to open that can.
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned, you're seeing the worms, but who opened that can? I'll tell you one thing: the Premiership didn't open that can. I can guarantee you that. No, the Premiership.
But some people are also saying that it could also be rival clubs, like rival bigger clubs that are doing this. You know,
simple, but you know, at the end of the day, the reason why clubs cook the books because they would have got an example and seen other clubs doing it. Let's not forget. In terms of the situation with Spurs, in terms of lending, you know, like player loans in order to beat the taxman, Arsenal taught Spurs how to do that. All right, Arsenal Football Club, our club, were actually the front runners in doing this. Spurs copied them because Ozzy Ardiles and his agent challenged the tax bill because the tax bill that he had after he left Tottenham. That's when the cans got open. So Man City would have been doing what's happening. Like I said, the only situation is that if you do something to Man City, then they should get the other clubs to stop what they're doing, because you have to have some sort of deterrent. But the problem is that football fans, you know, we're top geezers, and I think in a sort of nice way, simple souls, we just want to watch the match. You know, this is just a sideshow, really. But the fact is that you know, we all know that Man City are where they are because, you know, financially they've had advantages in order to accelerate their process. They're not doing it organically. The money.
They're not doing it. Of course, you know it's on steroids. You know it's just there. It's just there. You know.
And to be honest, can you blame them? Can you blame teams like PSG? Chelsea, Man City, and even Newcastle. I mean, Chelsea didn't win the title for 50 years. Man City didn't win a trophy for 35 years.
My American viewpoint says, yes, you can blame them, because what it does is it lopsides the leagues like Rangers and Celtic. And that's a problem, right? When you have the top four that are the same teams winning it year after year spend the most money. It doesn't give teams like Brighton and Villa really much of a chance.
It's not fair. It's not fair to the little guy. It's not fair to the little guy. It's not fair to the little guy. The little guy, why does the little guy have to bear the brunt all the time? The little guy.
The problem is our Robin Hood, but there was a Robin Hood. But the problem is he was the wrong Robin Hood, because what was happening is that we had a Robin Hood that dealt with Chelsea and Man City, but we didn't like him. That Robin Hood is a Scotsman from Glasgow, and he managed a club which we love to hate. You know,
Mm,
Man United
mm,
were he only saw off the challenge when Sir Alex was here. He saw off the challenge to
mm.
Chelsea and Man City's money, but
He
no other
did.
club's been able to do that. So
He
it can
did.
be done. It can be
Yeah,
done.
for sure.
Liverpool are probably the pipers now because they're trying to do it. So maybe the onus is on Arsenal now to do it
Mm.
organically and say, look, let's fight the fight. You know, because it can
Yeah.
be
And I
done.
think the counter to those high prices we're seeing is like players like Mudryk who come in for 100 mil and have, they look like they're fast. They
But
can have
trust
the
me,
ball.
Chelsea
Yeah,
will be the next.
yeah.
Chelsea will be the next because see, yeah,
They're
those guys are
expensive.
rolling around spending hundreds, millions.
There's,
Oh my
yeah.
God,
I mean, and
Hey,
there's
these
no.
guys almost a billion,
Oregongooner,
almost
I'm
a
gonna have to
billion
pop off.
pounds
I've got to go.
spent.
I've got to go, guys, because it's just yeah.
Let's close the show. Bagav says the Matrix opened the can. See, yeah. See, please, can you shout out where we could find you guys? We'll start with you, Oregongooner. Where can we find you
You
before we
can
move to
find
Kenny
me
Ken? Where we can
right here
find
on
him and
YouTube, and
say our goodbyes.
you can find me right here on or YouTube at Oregon Goon. I just play some FIFA games and just joke around and love to be on the Arsenal talk shows. You can also find me on Twitter on Oregon Goon HD. Thank you again, Tony. Good to see you, Kenny.
Yeah,
Good to see you.
yeah.
Good to
Kenny
see you,
Ken,
Oregongooner.
please could you shout out where we could find you and
You
please
can only
do
find me
the
in one place.
honors. Do the honors by closing the show for us, my big brother. Thank you for coming to the show.
First thing
And
I'll
the
say is
charts,
that
thank you everyone. Big up to everyone.
you can only find me in one place, and that's in Instagram at KennyKen1972. All I've got to say to close the show is that one game at a time. You know, it's business as usual. No one's been banged. No points have been deducted. No one's been expelled. It's business as usual. The title, the two teams gunning for that title, Man City and Arsenal. And until we know otherwise, that's what we've got to do. It's all about Brentford. You cannot play Man City before you play Brentford. So do not even think about Man City until 6:45 on a Saturday after our result against Brentford. Then you talk about Man City. But all Man City talk should be banned because Brentford have got a funny way of being a party poopers, and they quite enjoy it. They love it.
Kenny Ken, thank you very much. Oregongooner, thank you very much, guys. I hope you got into that speech by Kenny Ken, the legendary Kenny Ken. Big up to everyone who came to the show today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Ron and Claude show. Big up to everyone.